Yeah, let's talk about the labor screen. Um, in any business, there are labor tasks in addition to materials and parts, and this is where you define your labor tasks. And the labor task, a given task is performed at a certain rate. Now, you may have only one labor rate, and by the way, this is before, generally anyway, before markup. Um, um, so put your costs, um, labor rate, at least one labor. You probably have more than one because you have higher skilled workers or lower skilled workers at different rates. So before you can define labor tasks that you do in your jobs, you need to define labor rates. So on the upper right, define a labor rate. You touch the plus button, put a rate in, uh, and a description for that rate, and then touch done. Now you got a labor rate. Um, you can have as many labor rates as you want, but you must have at least one labor rate. You can have, there's no limit to how many labor rates that you have. So now tasks are things, are jobs, tasks that you do for a job. So if I want to define a labor task, and the task is what goes in the estimate, not the labor rate directly, but the task. Let's say I want to define a job. I'm going to touch on consultant, a high-paid consultant. I touch that so it's highlighted. Touch the plus button lower left. Uh, Give it a description, a code, and like I've said before, the codes are whatever you want them to be, but it's just a quick reference to a task and how long in terms of hours and minutes that task should be. So I've got a task, it takes 3/4 of an hour, or um, which is 45 minutes. So I put it in 45 minutes. It actually puts it in as an hour. Um, and you notice when I touch the top header of each grid column, it sorts it by that and also expands the column to fit the text in it. So uh, that's true throughout all the grids in the program, but that's the way it works. Um, and by the way, if you change a labor rate, you can edit it. So say I'm changing it from $75 to $76. Automatically changes all the items that use that rate in the grid. And if I want to add a labor task to an estimate, I just simply touch the right arrow on that labor task, and it goes into the estimate. When I touch it directly from this grid, the left-hand grid, you notice the quantity is 0. So you have to go back and put quantity. Actually, that's not the one I want to do. There it is. Okay. And you notice the price per is the hourly rate in case of labor, and that reflects a markup. So, in fact, you may have $75, $76 an hour, but when you mark it up, when it appears on the estimate screen, it shows up as $98.8 because that's a markup and reflects the markup. And the number of hours is 4.5 because I have quantity 6, and so that line item is $444.60. By the way, all these currency figures or whatever you set the iPad for, what region. If you're in a European region, um, your Eurozone country, those figures will represent, and it'll show that with the symbol as well, the Eurozone instead of dollars. So this program will work with any currency, but you have to set the iPad up for the currency you're using. That's all you need to know about that. And assemblies on the labor screen is exactly as on that grid as the assemblies on the parts and materials screen. The same assemblies. You can add assemblies from the labor or the parts screen. It doesn't make any difference. However, when you're editing, as we'll cover later, it does make a difference. We'll show that. I'll talk more about that in the assemblies tutorial.